Hi moms, Rachel here, and I wanted to talk to you today about postpartum healing and why it's important to wait the recommended 12 weeks before you begin gradually returning to running again. So the old news was to wait until your 6-week checkup. So you have your baby 6 weeks later, whether you delivered vaginally or by cesarean, you go see the doctor. The doctor says, okay, everything looks great. You can basically do whatever you want, right? So go by how you feel is often the recommendation. And for a lot of us, that's really too vague. It's not really a great, really great information on what it is that we can be doing or what it is that we should be doing. So the recommendations or the research, the guidelines, if you will, came out in 2019. And those state that we should be waiting until 12 weeks to begin gradually returning to run. Okay, so whether you are, whether you're currently pregnant and you're planning for your postpartum recovery and your exercise and all that kind of stuff, or you're newly postpartum, this video is for you. Okay, so like I said, waiting until the 12 weeks. Now, why are they saying 12 weeks? Well, because the research now shows that healing is still taking place between 4 and 6 months if you delivered vaginally, and between 6 and 7 months postpartum if you had a cesarean, okay? So a lot of women are feeling much better. You know, you're feeling like you're out of that sort of newborn haze by 6 months postpartum, hopefully. But your body's still healing, right? So your baby might be, crawling, maybe, sitting up, and your body is still healing from the 9 months that you carried your baby, your labor, and your delivery. So it's really important that you wait the recommended amount of time before you start running again. Okay, running is a high impact activity, and it takes a lot. It's a lot on your body. It's a lot on your joints. It's a lot on everything. So that's why the recommendation is that. Okay, so let me tell you a little story. If you haven't followed me at all, what I did after my second baby, he's now 3 years old. What I did was I started at 8 weeks postpartum. And I thought at the time, he was born in 2018, so this was before those guidelines came out. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna, I went and saw my doctor. Okay, everything looks okay. I was still having, pelvic pain from my SPD or my symphysis pubis dysfunction. And I thought, okay, I'll wait another 2 weeks. That's going to make like a world of difference. Yeah, no. So it was not a good start for me. It did not go well. Nothing really felt great. My knees ached, my lower abs hurt, my back hurt. And my body just was not ready to return to running. And I had a really, really hard time getting back to running just in general, even for like the first year. I tried to go, I don't even remember how many weeks it was, but, I started off and then I tried to increase the frequency of my runs by running a couple days a week. I did that for a few weeks. And then finally I was like, what am I doing? This is, this doesn't feel right. My body is not responding well to this. I don't feel great while I'm doing it. I don't feel great afterwards. I had like pelvic pain for like a day or two, that was increased for a day or two afterwards. And it was just like, what's the point? Running is not enjoyable for me right now. And what I ended up having to do was to like take a step way back, and go back to basics. And my continued pelvic pain was my limiting factor, and lots of moms don't have that. So, I'm not saying that if you don't wait the 12 weeks, then that's what's going to happen. But what you are at risk for if you start too early are any other like of the pelvic floor dysfunction or pelvic floor issues, even if you don't have them to begin with. Because all of that impact, that pounding with the running, really has an influence on your pelvic floor. Because that pelvic floor has been stressed and strained for, for 9 months, carrying a baby, and then had to open like immensely in order to accommodate the birth of a baby. And if you had a scheduled cesarean, let's say you had a scheduled cesarean, your body doesn't necessarily, the pelvic floor doesn't have to open for delivery, but your pelvic floor still carried a baby for, to term or close to term. So that's still a lot of strain. And I hear that a lot from moms too, is, well, I had a cesarean, so I'm not, I'm not at risk. But you are. And some of those pelvic floor symptoms or issues include incontinence. So like leaking with running, jumping, coughing, sneezing, that kind of stuff. To have those kinds of things sort of early on, the first week or two, maybe even a little bit longer, is kind of normal because your pelvic floor is healing. But once you sort of get out of those early weeks, you really shouldn't be experiencing those. Running can either cause or exacerbate those symptoms. Other symptoms that are under that pelvic floor umbrella also include prolapse, so a feeling of like dragging or heaviness in the vaginal area. SI joint dysfunction, okay, so low back pain or sacroiliac pain, as well as SPD or symphysis pubis dysfunction. It's also known as pelvic girdle pain or PGP. So those are some of the things that you can either develop or things that can worsen if you start running too early. And a lot of times moms, I see in the circles that I'm in or in like Facebook groups that, I'm, 8 weeks postpartum, or I'm 6 weeks postpartum, or 2 weeks postpartum, and I'm running and my knees hurt, or I'm running and now I have sciatica, or I'm running and I'm leaking. How can I not leak when I'm running? And a lot of times these moms are really, really early on in their postpartum period. And part of it is just that their body hasn't healed enough. Their body hasn't healed enough yet. So I really, really urge you to wait those 12 weeks. There's lots of stuff that you can be doing before that. So that doesn't mean like do nothing for 12 weeks and then go start running. Okay. Because that wouldn't be smart either. It's really important to start with foundational exercises, progress them to body weight exercises, progress them to weighted, and then progress them to running specific. So there really should be a gradual sequential progression of your exercises so that when you get back to running, your body is ready. And 12 weeks doesn't mean like at 12 weeks you have to start running. No. You don't have to start at 12 weeks. If you're not ready at 12 weeks, don't start at 12 weeks. That's just sort of the minimum that's recommended at this point, to wait before you start running. So let me go back to talking about me a little bit. So when I started to go back to running after my son, I had to stop, like I was saying before. And then so I would go like, a couple weeks, and then I would try running again. It didn't work. And then I would wait a couple weeks, and then I would run again on the weekend. And then I would just get disappointed over and over and over again because it wasn't feeling good for me. Because my case was a little bit different. And like I said, not all moms have what I had, but there are a lot of moms out there who do have, symphysis pubis dysfunction or other pelvic floor issues. I ended up doing like a lot of research on my condition and on just postpartum rehab in general, because there was literally like nothing out there on SPD and getting back to running. There's like stuff on SPD and, do stability exercises, but like, what is the end result of that? None of them talk about, moms who have had or have SPD and return to running. I couldn't find anything like that in the research. Then I looked at like runner specific programs, like, okay, how about I just do like, what's a good like running rehab program, which I've done before, like after injury, but those exercises weren't appropriate for me either because I was postpartum, and being postpartum is different than just like I have an injury and I'm getting back to running. So there's information out there, but not the right pieces to put together. And I had a really, really hard time putting those pieces together initially, which is why I was like stopping and starting so much. I even went to go see another PT. So, it is kind of embarrassing actually, like being a PT I already was a mom once. So it's my second labor and delivery, and I couldn't like fix myself. So it was really, really hard for me. It took me a long time actually before I even went to go see another PT, because I felt like I should have the answers myself, and I didn't. Long story short, seeing that PT didn't really help. She was just like, oh, I'll just give it some more time. You're doing all the right things. You just need to give it more time. And as a runner, like that's not the answer that I wanted to hear. I wanted some more information about like what did I need to do in order to get back to running. I didn't want to just keep waiting. What am I going to do? Just keep waiting and waiting until it just magically gets better. That's not a good answer to me. Or continue doing the same things that I was doing, which obviously were not getting me to the goal that I needed. So anyway, so I took, everything that I learned. I did some continuing education. I did some research online, not just research online, but like research of like, professional journals in the literature on, SPD, stabilization exercises and that kind of thing. And so what I did was I put all of the information together that I had learned, and I basically created my own program. And so I stopped running and I did the program, and I did it in succession. And I eventually was able to get back to running successfully. Okay. I was able to, I did a 5K around the time that my son turned 1. And then in that fall, when my son was like 15, 16 months, I did a half marathon when I was pushing him in the stroller, which was really great. We did a family run. And so fast forward to baby number 3, I continued to do a lot of those key exercises postpartum after my son, and then through pregnancy. And then I started the program back at the beginning after I delivered. And now I am 7 months postpartum. I just signed up for a half marathon. And we're going to be doing that in September together as a family. So whether I'm going to be pushing 2 kids in the stroller has yet to be seen. So I'm not sure if I have the stamina to push 2 of them at once, but we'll see. But my point is that waiting, and I wait. And the other thing is that I waited. I didn't start running this postpartum. I think it was like 3.5, 4 months postpartum before I started running a little bit. So my point is, wait the recommended minimum 12 weeks before you start running again. Okay. You're going to feel so much better if you do the right things before you start running. The running will feel so much better when your body is more ready to take on those challenges of running. Okay. And then the other thing is to rehab smartly. And there's things that you can be doing from day 1. So the day that you deliver, the day after you deliver, there's things that you can be doing to set yourself up for running when the time comes. And so because of my own experience, I've become very passionate about working with moms postpartum and working with moms to get back to running postpartum. And so the program that I developed and that I followed myself to be able to get back to essentially running a half marathon in half the amount of time it took me after my last baby is in my postpartum return to run program. So if you're a mother runner, if you want to get back to running postpartum safely, successfully, without setbacks, as quickly as possible, and I'm not saying quickly before the 12 weeks, I'm saying as quickly as possible, as safely as possible, then send me a message. I'd love to chat with you more about my program and whether it's a good fit for you and whether it's a good fit for us to work together. So I'd be happy to have you. Send me a message with your interest. Send me a message if you have any questions. And I'd love to hear from you. So hope to hear from you soon. Bye.